All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So we're gonna do a good sector review. I'm gonna cover 5 tickers on this one, starting with HITI because I think it's real easy to say this is the strongest of the 5. Then we'll get into TLRY, CGC, MSOS, and SNDL. If this doesn't go too long, I'll try to cover a few of the MSOs in the MSOS ETF. Okay. One thing I do want to call out is, hey, this time last year made a video and I tried to predict what the year would look like, okay? I'm a short-term dude, okay? I know what I'm good at, I know what I'm all right at, and I say good not being cocky. I hope you believe that, right? But I'm way better at short-term stuff than long-term. So much can happen in a lot more time, you know what I mean? This time last year, I said 2024 was going to be a good year. In all honesty, it really wasn't, all right? I think High Tide is a solid exception. You know what I mean? We started the year down here. Lo and behold, we're all the way up there, right? Tilray, I'm telling you honestly, the last thing I sincerely expected was for the year to end under the death line. I'm real shocked. I think we saw moments. We saw the Kamala push, right? We were really hopeful, and the setup was all right as we were getting into the election, and then obviously Florida messed up so much, right? And I sincerely do believe a lot of it was Florida. I still think, regardless if Trump or Kamala won, I think both presidents will be okay for the sector. I do. I don't think either of them has said anything bad. And I think Trump will. Trump's a second term president too, right? There is no term after that. And generally, you're a little bit looser with what you approve and do, right? Personally, I thought Obama was going to do it at the second term, right? The guy clearly could not get another term after. Just legalize it, bro. And he didn't do it, right? And I say bro with all due respect. The guy's the president, right? But you get what I'm saying. So hopefully Trump does a little bit with that second term looseness. I don't know what the word really is, right? But let's see if the sector does help with that, right? But as I look at the rest of the tickers, you can see it again, same thing. We went from up here to down. Like I am really shocked that the 2020 look, I think this one's a solid in between. I don't think SNDL looked as strong as High Tide, but clearly not as bad as Tilray and CGC, right? Obviously, just looking at the year, we were basically right here, and then hey, now we're here, right? Not as big a climb, but that's still not too bad right there, right? I think that's about a 33% gain, roughly a buck 50 to 2, just rough math right there, right? So that's not too bad. And again, I think MSOS is in that first bucket where we were up here and now we're down here, right? So look, the main reason I'm talking about being wrong is actually twofold, all right? Number one, I am always way louder about my mistakes than my wins. Trust me, I think it's nicer when other people say good things about my wins than myself. But number two, I'm gonna do a little bit more of a long-term view on this video as well, right? Like every other video you watch, I'm daily and weekly only. I'm gonna flash some monthly, I'm gonna flash some yearly. It really was a request for just this High Tide ticker, but I'll do it for the rest as well, right? But I'm gonna look a little further out, but I really wanna just put in that disclaimer. And again, obviously none of this is financial advice, right? This is just entertainment, and more than anything, this is educational. I hope you're learning and getting a lot better, right? But for real, my long-term game isn't as good because I just sincerely believe there are so many factors that in a daily, weekly view, I can adjust quickly. If I'm trying to guess what's going to happen between now and the next few months, oh man, who knows? You know what I mean? So just my little disclaimer, but yeah, outside of the daily and weekly like we normally do, I am going to look at some monthly and quarterlies. Some monthly and yearlies, maybe the quarterly if we need, but yeah, I'll give you my thoughts for 25. Again, I was pretty wrong about 24, kind of except for this one, which is just again setting a baseline truth, right? All right, so before we do go any further though, and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we gonna do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. And like I said on the opening thoughts, I'm gonna look at the monthly and yearly on this video as well, but daily and weekly is really what you're watching these videos for. I can tell you that, all right? From there, we have the 5 moving averages, all right? The horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself, And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms, but for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So let's get into high tide. And you know what? Let's start with a golf clap of nice for high tide, right? There's I think it's on Stock Twits, but I've seen a couple people just joke about the fact that high tide went from last on my sector review and barely pushing a minute or two worth of thoughts to like I might drop about 7 to 10 minutes on average on high tide. Even made an individual standalone a few times on this thing, right? So high tide's really done a lot more than I would have expected. And I can't stress, I'm going to use the word shocked, all right? I'm shocked how much of an outlier this chart is from the other four I'm going to cover, potentially more if I break out the MSOS actual ETF tickers, right? But where all the other stocks are basically at near or below the death lines, high tide has maintained and is nicely above the golden resistance, let alone the next one and the moving averages, right? You know this doji doesn't count, and I'll talk a little bit more about the technicals specifically. But I think what I want to do is zoom out, talk a little bit more long term, and then I'll get back to my bread and butter, which is the short term, all right? So let's take a look at the monthly. Okay, and oof, there's a few things really quickly jumping out at me, and I hope you see it even before I say it. I have to start with that 50 moving average, right? This is a very important line, right? It's the first of basically these three are very bread and butter. All right, like any baseline moving average theory stuff, these are the three, you know. And this is a brand new fresh formed monthly this stock, like if you count all these, right, that's where you're going to get the 50th month's worth of data, and you can put the point, right? So we've never ever been over that line, right? This month is starting off nicely, and that's a great thing, right? That's a really good thing. But again, I would have actually loved it if this month closed over it, right? You can see it. We opened up here, right? We opened at that 339 and then make our way down. I obviously like the fact that we held nicely over 50% candle right there. I do. But hey, right now on this monthly, we're battling this line right there. All right. So it's really important to put that 340, right? You can see it's actually 338. All of these are USD, by the way. Put that 338 in your back pocket. All right. If we can get over that line, you're now over all the moving averages on the monthly, right? We are nowhere near the 100. Let me just zoom out real quick. Let's just look. You can see the 50 starts here and it goes for that long before we get the 100, right? You see that, right? Monthly, that's a brand new baby line, right? We're nowhere near the 100th month of high tide's existence, and you break all three and you fly on this one, right? So keep that 338 in your pocket. If we break that, we're running, I think, to that basically $4, right? 390, whatever. Let's look at the yearly really quickly. Okay, so this is what I was going to show. Right now, I think it's a question of what do you like more, the line that I drew or the candles right here. So when I click on this yearly, you can see that the top number, that line right there, is exactly at 3. It's the green line on top. When I look at this month, the bottom is obviously the same, $3, right? The open and the close of those two candles was 3. On this month, on this year, we actually closed at 309. That is the biggest resistance on this yearly chart and then it's just basically red, 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 green, 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 red, 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 green, 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 right? Personally, I would have liked it to get over this 315, but hey, in all honesty, I think that $3 break was the more important one, okay? The important thing to remember is twofold. Number one, as much as I need confirmation on the daily, I need confirmation on the yearly, right? So I need this next year to deliver to make me believe that 2026 is going to go nasty gangbangers up, right? Sometimes I use weird words and I got to remember to tone them down a little bit, right? But just like it's on the daily, you get over, you confirm, you sustain, and you go, right? And I made some hand gestures, and you can't see my hands, but I think you can imagine what I was doing, right? So I like that we got over that three right there. I do. Hopefully, this will help me confirm, believe, and go. Just look at this: one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. We're still not quite ready to put the eight moving average line, right? It almost looks like this thing is so horizontal that 315 might end up being where the average of the eight is how that math works, right? Like again, I'm not, yeah, whatever, right? So get me as further away from that 315 as I can. What's the quarterly look like? Oh, that's a good quarterly. Oh, look at that. This quarter closes at 309. The 20 moving average was exactly at 309. Oof, that is oof. And now we're getting over the 20 and there is no okay, I like this a lot actually. Look, this is setting up really well. We don't have enough data for the MACD. Again, I have no idea. I don't know if we need 12 things or 26 things. I'll be real honest with you. I think it's 26 because obviously we have the 12. That's number 20 right there, right? One, two, three, four, five, six. Interesting. Maybe the next one will have it again. I'm not here pretending I know the math, right? But I don't have any MACD info. But all of a sudden, I'm starting to believe the RSI might go green over red. And you know what? The thing went super, super low. Maybe it can actually get over that. And maybe it can at least try to get to 50. Right? That's basically been what the average RSI has been on the quarterly. If it could get over the 50, that would be amazing. I think we'll figure that out in about 2 quarters, which would basically be what, the end of June, right? So I'm guessing right now by between now and June, I think there's a real good shot that we see at I would guess the 340 the 396 fills. I think the biggest thing standing in the way right now is the single 50 moving average. If we can get over that single 50 moving average, truth be told, from I'm going to put it back down to 315, but I'm just going to make a point right here, right? If we can get over that line, all I see is red, 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 green, 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 red, 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 nothing, nothing, nothing. That could be a real, right? So let's just watch 316, whatever. We're not here for perfect, right? Good enough is a very beautiful thing. I promise you that. But let's sum up the comments real quick, all right? And you can kind of tell it's not as clean as the daily and weekly, right? I don't do this that often. I like challenging myself as well. This yearly chart is good, okay? There are things I need to believe even more. I need confirmation. I want volume, right? I didn't really talk much about volume, but look, last year was by far the biggest volume year, right? It essentially doubled. We went from 80 to a buck 60, right? 8 to 16. So I don't want this year to come back to 50 or 60, right? We need at least 130, 100, yeah, I think let's call it 120. And if you need 120 million shares in a 12-month window, which is this yearly candle, right? We need at least 10 million shares a month. And if we can start doing it a little early and bank a couple 10 millions and maybe 20s and 30s, right? That might help soften the later months. Maybe it'll never come, right? But that's what we're looking for on the yearly. I'm glad we got over that. We did actually close over that $3 line, right? I'm not making the line, but that $3 line is down here. We closed at 309 if I'm not mistaken. And the cool thing is this, because right, my line was at 315, 316 right now. Regardless, this closes at 309. Do you look at this thing? This thing actually opens at 314. So there was actually a little bit of a gap up between this year end and this year start, as opposed to the exact same. Again, little difference, nothing substantial, nothing to go crazy about. But I think with a smaller, more irrelevant stock, and I say that with love and respect, you know that, I think those little differences might add up, right? Damn, I can't believe I'm already talking 15 minutes on high tide. Let's come into the daily and the weekly, and then we'll get into the other ones, all right? So, look, high tide, this is a nice daily, okay? Right now, let's take a couple steps back real quick, right? We've been dealing with that golden line. It's been a pesky, 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 pesky line since the 2022 range, right? All of a sudden, we get over it, we use it as a support, and we go on up. And from there, the moving averages do the rest, right? I think it makes sense to me that high tide's not really able to like bounce like an 8 like a champion, right? Like you look at high tide and you look at SoFi. I would much prefer a stock that never uses the 50 and the 20 as it makes its way on up. But you know what? High tide's not there yet. It hopefully will, but I like the fact that it's using the lines like it should going up, right? There's a reason we use the 8 and the 20 together. And hey, right now it's using it more. Hopefully at some point it doesn't need to and it can sustain it a little bit more, all right? But hey, we are over all the moving averages. This doesn't count as much as it should, right? Because that's a nice candle. That's a doji. I do need one more, but I do like that we're over 50% of the biggest candle. And I do like that this one closed over the biggest candle to the left, right? So I think there are more bullish things up here than not. And especially again, I like the way that it's bouncing on the 50 and using the 8 and the 20, right? That's a good MACD. That's a good RSI. They both have the green over red. That is at least positive. We never slip back under. Just like up here, we never slip below the moving averages we shouldn't lose. We never slip below the MACD zero line. You know what I mean? I think those kind of go a little bit hand in hand on this chart right here, right? But I see the green over red. 60, we can at least go up a little bit to 80 and I think be comfortable. Maybe just the mid 70s as I'm kind of looking at the more recent RSIs. But yeah, this is a nice daily. The weekly is testing the 200. We've never broken the 200 on the weekly. We've never broken the 50 on the monthly. Where is this number at? Oh, it's right here. Again, this is a good start. That's a significantly better candle over it than that little random doji right there. Obviously, that was a red one and not good, right? Give me next week, make me believe, and all of a sudden, which is what I said earlier, right? I do think 396 is a little bit realistic here for high tide. I actually said in the next 6 months, but I think the daily and the weekly is actually saying a little bit sooner because again, from here to here, all I see is nothing, 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 red, red, red. Probably a green, green, green right there, and that's a nice little gap up, green, green, green too. With, oh yeah, this is shaping up actually to get to that 9.6 pretty quick. Sorry, 3.96. Bad math. A little yeah, sorry. And then let's draw the next line. I actually like it right here. So normally I would have taken the top right there, but let me just see. What's half of you? I think that's the better line. I think roughly 488 is a good half of that. Half of that. It doesn't really make too much sense right there. But hey, maybe that was a little bit of a fit. I think that's our line. I think it's 488 above that. On the daily, I would say, obviously, I would love to never lose 316 at this point, right? I don't even think, I don't want to delete this line. I think it's a really important line, but truth be told, I don't even care about this line anymore. We literally have 4 supports, and I'm not even including this one. We have those 3 moving averages in that one, right? So at this point, I'm hoping we can at least just not lose 316 and really let's bounce on up and go, because like I said, that's a real nice fast channel right there, right? So 20 minutes on high tide, that was not my plan at all. Let me know if you agree or disagree. I think I'm gonna cut this off right here, because, yeah, that's going to be too silly doing it with the other ones. All right, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so, so much.